Welcome to Out with Dan, the podcast that spotlights and examines the voices of LGBTQ+ authors, characters, and our allies. Together, we lift our voices and we tell our stories. I'm Dan White. Join me as I chat with this week's author. Hello, and welcome back to a special Saints and Sinners edition of Out with Dan. Today, I am joined by Margot Douaihy, who is a guest of honor at this year's Saints and Sinners. And she's also the author of wildly popular Scorched Grace, which I see has just been reissued in paperback, or the paperback edition has come out. Is that correct?
Yes, and it's such a wonderful chapter of the story. Thank you. Yes.
I love it. And so I know you've been to New Orleans because I was there with you last year when we went to Saints and Sinners. Are there some fun places, bars or restaurants or cemeteries or some places you're looking forward to revisiting or visiting for the first time?
Well, because our mystery series features a queer nun, Sister Holiday, I always love to walk by and pay homage to the Ursuline sisters, the convent in the French Quarter. It is magnificent. It is so beautiful, so mysterious. And anyone walking by, I think, could get a sense of the legacy and the history, as well as the really rich roots of the varieties of spiritual and religious identities that form New Orleans, from Catholicism to, of course, voodoo, to the variety of practices and identities that form this remarkable place. So when I do go back, I always try to walk by there. Of course, I love to get coffee and breakfast and brunch from Satsuma in the Marigny. Bacchanal also is an incredible place. Some of the most revelatory wine I've ever had at Bacchanal, aptly named Pizza Delicious, also in the Bywater. It's an absolute staple. Very obsessed with Pizza Delicious. I mean, I could go on and on, but a special shout out to the 25-cent martinis that you can get for lunch at Commander's Palace, which of course is a fine dining institution. But if you roll up and, bring a couple of bucks and tip them a 20, obviously. And then a final note that I would add to the list is Compare Le Pen, which is in the business district, really the CBD. And it's run by Chef Nina, who is a kind of a hero of mine. So just, I think one of the, obviously the best and most exciting and important American cities is New Orleans. But for the foodies among us, it really is paradise.
I totally agree with you. I was saying to Margot before we started recording, I think New Orleans lights up all of the senses. You can eat, you can drink, you can pray, you can see art performed on the streets, you can buy art on the streets. There is nothing that can't go on in New Orleans. I often think it's the city that makes New York look a little sleepy.
Without a doubt. Absolutely. Yep. It's just, yes, in a city of cities and stories of stories.
So give me a little idea of what was your sense of being at Saints and Sinners last year?
The most incredibly supportive community of folks who are deeply invested in storytelling. And obviously, as one of the few and most, I think, long-lasting and enduring LGBT literary festivals, it just has a heartbeat that is undeniable. It's a place where I can't imagine missing. Once you go one time, you just put it on the calendar and you go over and over again.
You're hooked. Absolutely hooked. Yes.
Yeah, you make new friends that I think will last a lifetime, sitting on panels. So obviously some of the world's most notable authors are there, but we're united by an investment in queer storytelling. And those are just some of the few reasons I can't imagine living without it. And I'm so excited to go back in March.
So am I, Margot, and I think you've summed up everything I've told all of my friends since going for the first time last year. It's so inclusive, and they do look to find authors who are already experienced, plus those coming up. There's plenty of place for novels as well as poetry, and it is so inclusive. I absolutely love it. Well said, Margot.
Thank you. So, I loved meeting students as well from the local universities, yes. UNO, Tulane, every age, just every interest in aesthetics. It was just remarkably exciting.
And I know that your book, both of your books, because you have a new one coming out, Blessed Water, that's out in March. Is that right?
Yes, Blessed Water, it launches. The Storm of Blessed Water lands on March 12th. So yeah, coming up.
Fantastic. Give the audience members a little flavor of what both of your books are about.
Absolutely. So this is a mystery series that's a quartet. 4 novels, and then we're done. I already have this arc and a kind of that limited edition feeling in mind. When I think about some of the detectives and sleuth stories that I love so much, there is a strong sense of these characters, and they do grow and change from each book to one book to the next. So our central character is a tatted up punk rock queer nun named Sister Holiday, who takes a very countercultural move, moving from Brooklyn to New Orleans. She's, again, 33 years old. She confuses a lot of her friends when she makes this change in her life to join the convent called the Sisters of the Sublime Blood in New Orleans. And they are a progressive convent, but a Catholic order of nuns all the same. So she is starting this new life for reasons we will find out in Scorched Grace, and a series of arson attacks put her whole life into chaos. And so she fancies herself as a sleuth. She doesn't trust the police. She sets herself on the path of putting the puzzle together and unmasking the arsonist and bringing her new life back into a place of calm, or so she thinks. So it's a pretty fiery book. And then Blessed Water picks up after Scorched Grace. It has a different rhythm. I really think books and artworks have their own rhythm and their own feeling. Blessed Water takes place over 3 days. It's a fast-paced mystery, but it's still very rich. I'm a poet as well as a novelist, so to me, Blessed Water really it feels like both a poem and a ripper. So weirdly, I wanted to write something that was rich and deep, but also fast. So it takes place over Easter weekend. There's a terrible storm that threatens New Orleans, and it starts with Sister Holiday pulling the dead body of a priest out of the Mississippi and takes off from.
I love it. Margot, you always give us such fascinating stories. I love that.
Thank you.
And this Scorched Grace has been everywhere. I see it in bookstores everywhere. I think I tweeted you sometime last year. I passed by the Azusa Public Library and you were featured on the front shelf. And I say that because Azusa is a lovely place here in California, but I'm not sure I thought Scorched Grace would be that front and centered, and it was, and I was so pleased about that. So congratulations and best of luck with the 2nd edition.
Thank you so much, Dan. It's just such a joy to be part of this community of queer artists and storytellers. So it's just an honor and a privilege.
And it's a nice thing that we get a place at the table now. I like that. We always should have had a place at the table, but we're getting more and more recognition, and I'm appreciative for that.
Me too.
Margot, do you have a website or social media you would like to share with the audience?
So my name, which is a bit of a mouthful, but Margot, Margot, and then my last name, DOUAIHY.com is my webpage. I'm on Insta at Neon Margot, all one blob of letters, because I love neon. And I'm on Twitter, but not that frequently, but just at my name, Margot Douaihy.
I absolutely love it. And I look forward to seeing you in New Orleans when we get there.
Thanks so much, Dan. See you soon in the Big Easy.
Thank you. Hang on for me just a second. Thank you for joining us for a very special Saints and Sinners edition of Out with Dan. The Saints and Sinners LGBTQ+ Literary Festival is a part of the Tennessee Williams Literary Festival, and it is held each year in New Orleans. This year's festival will be March 22nd through the 24th. We would love to have you join us. For more information on Saints and Sinners, please visit sasfest.org.